Good afternoon. My name is Marina Urbina, and this is my video for Module 8, Introduction to Sociology. In my last video, I was coming over a very tough illness, and I just want to say that I am all better, and I'm back to 100% normal, so for the most part. But yes, while I was sick, it was bad. Every possible thing that they said that you could get while having the virus, I got, so it was bad, but I'm all better now. So the first question is, society has changed over the past decade from style to language and even our environmental resources. Give an example of how social change has affected physical environment, population, innovation, diffusion, and mass media. Well, one of the biggest social changes that we have currently going on right now is the coronavirus. Yay! Sooner or later someone was going to bring this up, so it might as well be me, right? Well, the coronavirus pandemic has affected us in more ways than one. As far as our population, our mass media, where do I even start? Like I mentioned before, I'm a surgical tech at Banner Desert, one of the hospitals here of where I live, in labor and delivery unit. And the pandemic has brought us all to kind of stay indoors and stay in our homes at most possible at all costs to avoid spreading the coronavirus. And because of that, our department, labor and delivery, has almost exceeded their patients. They are seeing last I saw was about 20 deliveries a day. 20 deliveries a day. Now, I know it takes a 9-month process for a baby to be born, but I'm including premature babies, I'm including at-risk mothers, I'm including all of that in that. And our projections are to rise again. We will be at full capacity in the next 3 to 4 months, and we are short out of our supplies, our staffing. We are short on all of that stuff. And because of this pandemic and everybody closed off, our population is also growing. It may be also growing, but it's also kind of depleting a little bit. This is a tough subject for a lot of people, but because of being pretty much incubated in your own home, is also terrifying if you are stuck with someone who is an abuser. And at least in one of the cities here in our hometown, domestic abuse violence has raised about 25%, and a good portion of that has ended in deaths. So we may be adding to the population, but we're also taking away, because this pandemic has had us very just upside down in the way it's affected our physical environment. We are just trying to find ways, like there's new buildings, and then there's readjusted buildings where now you enter a certain way and come out a certain way of a building, or a store. So in most stores they have a shield that is between yourself and a teller, and it's almost like you're in a prison but outside a prison, if that makes any sense, because in prisons is the only place that I could think of that have a shield in between you and somebody else. But now everywhere you go, they have those shields. They have these barriers to prevent, close interaction, and we don't realize how much that actually affects us, because many of us don't even realize how much a simple handshake with an introduction means to us. It means, so just a simple handshake, depending obviously on how you do it, but it means a sort of form of professionalism. And now when you greet someone, it's like hi, where you have a distance and a mask, or it's the hey, how you doing, how's life, hope as well. I know I had to do it, but still. And it was awkward when I had to do it for the first time, or even the boots, not the boots, but like your foot hits someone else's foot, and it's like, hi, how are you? It's odd, and we're not used to it. And almost felt when I had a pest control guy who was like here, and he wanted to shake my hand, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and then gives me his elbow. It was the most awkward thing ever, and we're not used to it as people. We like that interaction. We like that small bit of touch. And the same thing when it comes to other people and family members. We need that physical touch to give us those endorphins, to give us that light that we need, because it's missing from us, and we didn't realize how much we took it for granted. A hug to some people is just a hug, like, oh, get off me. But to others, it's like a breath of fresh air. And all of this taken away from us affects us in a negative way more than it does in a positive way. And I know it is to prevent a virus from spreading, but those who severely need it are suffering from it, and that has hurt our population, that has hurt our physical environments, it's affected so much change. This whole pandemic has turned us upside down, and it's mind-blowing. The next is our mass media. Social media will tell you everything that you don't want to know, you don't need to know, but will hold back on everything you should know. And it's odd because it'll throw you numbers, it'll throw you data, but if it's not coming from a reliable source, many people are believing false advertisements that think it's going to get them somewhere, but it's not. And it throws everything off. And my respects to everybody who's passed away from the coronavirus and those who are suffering from it. I can tell you from personal experience, it does suck. It's really bad. But now we have to live our lives for those who survive it and those who have not gotten it yet into almost a secluded environment that not everybody is mentally built for. And that's the social change that we have to get used to, because of the fact that I feel like this, and it is projected that this is going to last a couple months, and things are not going to be back to normal the way it used to be, at least for another 4 or some months. And by then, who knows how our population will change and how our social interactions will change, and they might not be the best. So the next question is, the information revolution was and still is an important perspective in social change. In your opinion, how has it changed society, and how do you feel it will change society in the future? Okay, well, in the liberal text social science, it states information revolution refers to the most recent era of technology developments, including cell phones and internet. Well, we all know how much technology has been advanced. And the more that technology advances, the less social interaction we do with other people. And that has started since the invention of cell phones that have internet. So we have distanced ourselves so much from other people that, because everything that we see in our phone is more important. When it comes to technology, that scares actually the living daylights out of me, because to show an example, my daughter knows what buttons to press to turn on the dishwasher. She is still struggling to wash a dish by hand. And that's where the point that I'm trying to make. Our technology has advanced so far, at least in the United States, and there's still more to come, that now you can kind of have a doctor's visit virtually. Who knew? You have a self-cleaning vacuum, the Roomba, You have a phone that does it all. Internet, phone, videos, recording, camera. And it made 90% of everything that we have obsolete. The only thing you can't do is put a USB drive into it and then download your movies into a USB drive, connect it to your phone, and watch a movie there, because why would you need to? You could just go on to any internet site and watch a movie there. One of the countries that are so advanced in their technology is Asia, or continent, and China, Korea, Japan. Their technology is so advanced that they become more self-interested than they have the progress of being with other people and the interactions and caring more about the other person rather than what's on your phone or what's the newest technology. Everybody's so focused on the newest technology that they're forgetting the basics. They're forgetting where things come from. I do not doubt in my mind that there's going to be a lawnmower like the Roomba that cleans your lawn or cuts your lawn for you, and then disposes itself and cleans himself, and I don't know. I don't doubt it. But then before you know it, there's not going to be any lawnmowers, and there's going to be no one who's going to know how to work a lawnmower if ever it needs to be. I am not a fan of the advancement of technology being the way it is, just because many people are forgetting the basics of things. And because they're forgetting the basics of things, I feel like when things go bad, when there's no internet, when there's no power, when something breaks, because things like technology does have a lifespan. It eventually will stop working, but the basics don't. A lot of the original things that we had are reliable. They work. They'll still work if you use it to this day. And so that's my take on it. I will never be okay or comfortable with the idea of artificial intelligence playing any medical role in a hospital. That is, artificial intelligence do not have instincts. They do not have perseverance. They do not have drive, motivation. They don't have critical thinking. They have numbers and they have wires. That's it. They don't have heart and they don't have anything. So I won't ever see a place in them as a medical provider, ever. And I feel like how our technology is advancing, I feel like that will be I think it is an idea now, and I think they're going to try to make it into a real thing in the next 10, 15, 20 years, and I will never be for that, ever. Artificial intelligence scares me to this day. I appreciate how far we've gone in technology, hybrid cars, saving electricity, energy efficient, the way that we can actually go to school during a pandemic without actually getting any contamination. But I'm okay where we're at now, but to advance it more is just scarier and scarier. The second question is, how has modernization changed many underdeveloped nations? Well, many underdeveloped nations use modernization as kind of a guideline in my thought process and my thinking. It gives them something to work for. It gives them something to reach, a goal, because they see what we have, they see what we're capable of having, and they see how much our lives are easier in a sense, that it gives them ideas to help modernize their underdeveloped countries and nations. Starting off with, okay, they see that United States is modernized, they have hybrid cars. This underdeveloped country over here barely has 50% of the population barely has a car. Mostly about 40% of the population has a bike, and everybody else is walking on feet. So that gives them something to work for, that gives them guidelines, that gives them basis. They're like, okay, we want this, how do we get this? Well, we need to start off here to get here. If I was in an underdeveloped nation where I lived in a small tribe, the first thing I would want to get is shoes, because everywhere I go, I'm going to need something to protect my feet. And then I'd work into getting, now I know that this country over here has cars, great, I will work to get a car, but I need shoes first. Then I'm going to need a bike after I get my shoes, I'm going to need a bike. A bike will help me get to point A to point B a lot faster. If I earn enough money, then I'll get a motorcycle where it's fuel efficient, it's faster, and it'll get me to my job in a faster time. And if I have children, then I will work to get a car, which will be easier. But I have to take those small steps to get there, because I saw what this modernized country has, and I want that. So I think that that's what it does. It gives them something to look forward to, it gives them something to work for, and it gives them ideas, and it shows them how much our life has affected it. Cell phones, there are millions of people outside of the United States do not have a cell phone, and some of them use letters, some of them still use letters, some of them use other methods of communicating to other people that are not close to them. And eventually they're going to be like, okay, how do we get that so that my message to somebody else gets received better? So I just think that for the modernization, countries build hope to underdeveloped nations because it shows them where they can go, but they have to show them how they get there. And they have the best ability ever to stop whenever they feel like, I'm good here. I'm good here. I could, if I didn't have kids, I could be like, yeah, I'm good with this motorcycle. I'm perfectly fine right here. And that's where I'll stay. And that's great. And that could happen in the developing countries too with their government. They don't have to be they don't have to have 1,000 people speaking at the House, in the White House, and they could have 15 and they could run better. It's just an idea for them to know, and then they could change it and make it their own to help their country live and modernize. The last question is, what are the types of social movements that have occurred in history? When and why did they occur? And so one of them, I had to actually research how many actually different movements have had happen in the last 50 to 100 years. And I found one that I actually care about is the animal rights movement, sometimes called the animal liberation, animal personhood, or animal advocacy movement, which it just looks for a way to end the treatment to animals. It's trying to end the status of animals as property and to use their research and to use them as research, food, clothing, and entertainment industries. This one is a very, very sticky one because it is unethical to do test studies on humans. So people think it's not unethical to do test studies on animals. Now, what's difference is it for science or medicine to test on a rat that not many people consider pets, they actually consider as rodents, that gives us about the same scientific results as testing on a human. The only difference is that a human is a living, breathing, alive thing that can talk to you and give you updates on what they're feeling if you are testing on them, versus a rat who either dies or doesn't, or is completely fine or has a side effect, but they don't talk. So, and it's hard because we don't think about it. If we think about all animals as properties, then our own dogs, they're considered our property. Is that considered an animal rights? If we have them, if we love them and feed them and care for them and get them to the vets and everything, I mean, are we under a violation for animal rights? Or are we in violation of animal rights if we treat it well, feed it, but at the same time we're conducting an experiment on psychology? If we train it with its mom, if the dog has puppies and then the puppy's with his mom and they have a bond, is it still, are we still in a violation of animal rights if we use it for research, for psychology, to give us an idea of how humans interact with their loved ones, with a mom, instinct and things like that? I mean, are we willing to put a puppy in danger so that we see how the mom will interact? Like, it's where do you draw the line? So just a little bit of history with this one, and that was just a quick overview, is that this has brought the attention from back at least in the 70s, if not before, so back in the day they used to use animals and they would torture animals for entertainment, and they wanted to fight it. These are kind of like PETA, the organization group PETA, who fights against animal cruelty. And it's that people use that for money. They fight these people who use animals for entertainment. They fight for the animals so that they can torture the animals for entertainment. And many of us in the audience don't see it. I saw a Barnum and Bailey's circus act when I was 7. I would have never known that those animals were being tortured for entertainment. I would have never known how much they're suffering. I would have never known that. I don't see that. Instead, I see an animal standing on 2 feet that weighs 6 tons or something. And it's hard to open our eyes to that. And not people are just gonna go. They're gonna be like, okay, we see an animal standing on 2 feet. Cool. They're gonna pay for it, and that's gonna draw the attention. That's gonna, it's a really weird like cycle. So, but animal rights is still to this day being a huge movement because of how much animals are actually being abused, for example, and also killed. There's a lot of hunters out there in Africa that shoot and kill endangered species for their fur, their tusks, and that's killing our species, that's killing our animal kingdom, where eventually we won't have anything if these don't get stopped because of the problems they are causing us. And it's sad. They're killing off a whole animal group because of how much they can get in exchange for their life, and it's awful. But we are doing things nowadays because of things like these movements like these, that we are now establishing barriers and safety areas where, poachers like that can't get them. So, and we won't see it. For example, we see it now on TV where there's animals, but we don't see how they're treated off screen. So to us, we're like, oh, that's funny, oh, this, but we all know they're Hollywood animals that are trained. But how are they trained? With decency and respect and pride, or are they trained like painfully and they're just use makeup to cover up? So it's just something to think about, and that's one of the social movements that have occurred in history. I hope that my video was informative. I will put all my cited sources on the comment box. As you can tell, I'm not a YouTuber or an influencer because this is awkward for me, but I did it. So I hope all is well, and yeah, bye.